everyone. Today is the day that parents cry and younger siblings who once shared rooms now cheer knowing that their suffering may soon be coming to an end. I know this has been said many times before, but that will not stop me from repeating it. High school is nothing like the movies. There is no singing or dancing, there is no wild senior prank, and nobody discovered that they had superpowers. Truth be told, I had no idea what I wanted to get up here and say. I know that I am supposed to talk about all the fun times my class and I have had here at Federal Hawking, but there are other issues I feel I should also address. I was told once by a family friend that racism didn't exist within Athens County. A statement like that shocked me. It might not be prominent, but this county is full of microaggressions, and it really is the little things. For my senior project, I chose to write a book that really revolves around racism. A majority of the book was fiction, but I can't lie, most of it were things I had actually experienced. The title of this book is Broken Bootstraps. My least favorite quote, My least favorite phrase will always be when someone tells another person to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And this is because sometimes that is actually impossible for some people to accomplish. And that doesn't apply to just Athens County. It applies to our country as a whole, and to every person that has ever experienced something like racism or poverty. While I may not be old enough to vote, I do believe that I have a say in politics, especially when a debate over whether or not my life matters becomes a topic for politicians. I can say that the summer before my senior year was probably my loudest and proudest moment. I was participating in protests, writing poetry, and I was even being subtweeted by middle-aged moms on Facebook. During my time spent at Federal Hawking, two of the most important lessons I learned were to continue my learning even outside the classroom, and to remember that I have a voice worth using. So today I've decided to read a poem that allows me to strengthen my voice and demonstrate the learning I have done outside the walls of Federal Hawking. I learned something new this past year. Did you know that people can be born blue? In the same way that we can be born black, white, and brown, they say that people can be born blue. They say this because when we say Black Lives Matter, they feel the need to say Blue Lives Matter too. And that leads me to believe that people can be born blue. A skin color isn't something we get to choose, but a profession isn't something you just do. It's how you choose to live your life too. When making the argument that my life matters, I was met with the rebuttal of, well, my job matters too. I respect the job of a police officer, but I respect the lives of those that look like me too. A police officer gets to remove his blue suit. A police officer has the option to no longer be blue. I am not in that situation, and neither are some of you. This isn't a statement against any life, because all lives do matter, but Black lives matter too. And I'm tired of that same old rebuttal, because people are not born blue. That is something you choose. I didn't have to read that poem today, but I chose to because it is a message I truly believe in. Of course, that is the only thing I would like to say, because today is our graduation and it deserves to be celebrated. However, writing a speech to symbolize the end of our high school careers is hard work. But as Tupac Shakur would say, no matter how hard it gets, stick your chest out, keep your head up, and handle it. Now that I've quoted the king of hip-hop, it is officially time for me to throw out all the cliches. I want my classmates to know that we have the ability to reach for the stars. We should never give up, and we need to remember that we are the future. Even if I did mean any of those statements, it wouldn't make a difference. That's not what a teenager wants to hear on the day that they finally receive their diploma. Right now, we're all looking for a piece of advice. Right now, we believe that we need someone to tell us what our next step is. We only feel this way because the biggest lesson we learned in school was how to listen. So now we're finally willing to listen, and nobody has any direction to give us. We've reached the point in our lives where we are supposed to know exactly what we want to be when we grow up. But guess what? We don't know. And we don't need to know. And I'm willing to bet more than half the audience doesn't know either. Dave Chappelle says, the world can't tell you who you are. You just gotta figure out who you are and be there, for better or for worse. I know how scary it is. My classmates and I are trying to figure out our entire lives as 18-year-old kids. The only advice we haven't heard yet is that figuring all that out is impossible. Life will forever be full of surprises, and we will have to embrace that. It is okay to be scared, and it is okay to have no idea where you are going from here. My recent Google searches told me that in order to deliver a perfect graduation speech, I needed to quote someone meaningful to my class and I. After reading this, I knew exactly who that person was. Megan Thee Stallion. She says that you cannot hold people to a God standard. Therefore, I would like to advise my classmates to allow yourselves to make mistakes. Do not hold yourself or others to a standard which no one can reach. Most of us entered this building as scared 13-year-old kids. The only major difference between who we were 5 years ago and who we are now is age. Yes, we have gotten taller, learned how to drive, put our fidget spinners away, and started planning futures for ourselves. However, most of us are still scared, and we have good reason to be. As the quirky millennials on Facebook would say, I don't want to adult today. Truth be told, none of us do. As kids, of course, you want to grow up and experience that freedom of adulthood, but when you finally reach it, you realize it kind of sucks. And I know that is a very unprofessional word to use, because my favorite teacher told me so, but you can't deny that it is almost a perfect description for the situation. Speaking of teachers, I would like to thank the staff here at Federal Hawking, for going above and beyond what is expected of them. Thank you to Miss Torrance for being the very best school mom. Thank you to Mr. Riss and Senor Taylor for being absolutely hilarious anytime they were together. Thank you to Mr. Wormkey for letting me know that I was the reason I didn't have the most fun during high school. Thank you to Miss Bookman for being the biggest reason as to why most of us are able to graduate today. Thank you to all of the parents and families, not only for showing up today, but for showing up every day and being the support system that each of us needed. A special thank you to Tracy Clem for making sure every student was able to smile, no matter how bad their situation was. Her kind heart is the reason we don't see kids going without, and she is the reason I enjoyed coming to school. I would like to thank my little sister for being my best friend, even if it wasn't by choice. I would like to thank my mom and dad for raising me in all the unconventional ways, which made me the person I am today. Yes, Dad, your perfect mix of bullying and teasing are the reasons that I'm able to stand up here. I can't lie when saying I had one goal today, and it was to make my mom cry. Therefore, these next lines are for her, but I'm sure almost every student graduating with me would like to say the same thing to their parents. Mom, thank you for loving me even when we argue. This might not seem like a big thing to be thankful for, but even when you argued, you made sure I was fed, awake in time for school, on time for work, and so many more things. I can't thank you for all of the little things, because the amount of help you have given me is worth more than any words I could possibly give you right now. Thank you for being the definition of a perfect mother. Lastly, I would like to thank my audience for listening to me, even if some of you were only pretending. We are the class that lived through a global pandemic. We have witnessed how the world has changed in a day, and we are going to embrace the uncertainties that our futures will bring us. We are the class of 2021. At this time, I would like to introduce guest speaker, Mrs. J. Gilmore.